Hello and welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Techno Wizard. And today we're going to read two sections of my newsletter. Here we're going to get into the problem with democracy and why we should ban countries and borders. Um, so I'm going to try to shoot through a bunch of videos today. So you might hear one after the other. This video, then the anarchy video, and the philosophy video if I have time. But yeah, I just haven't had time or made made the time over the past couple weeks, so been falling behind on these. But these are both short sections, so hopefully we can cover these today. Without further ado, let us begin. Having specialized roles specifically for politics or other decision making is inherently hierarchical and myopic. Without the voluntary participation of the people, it steadily collapses into a system of class-based power games. Because if most decisions are chiefly made by those positions of power, even if they are voted in and representative, they don't require most people to pay attention to what is happening. We see that today, right? It is an outsourcing of decision making skills, thereby becoming a natural drift in power away from the people and into the hands of the few politicians. A consensus based system requires everyone to participate, and if they don't participate, their abstention is noted so future complaints are more easily managed and recognized. With consensus, it becomes very obvious when a decision is wrong because you'll hear about it from everyone. But this feedback loop is very much atrophied or even non existent in any other system, even democratic ones, where most people can only really voice their complaints or thoughts come voting time. Now, I realize that my problems with democracy is more towards with representative democracy, what we have today. Many people, I've learned about direct democracy since then. I've heard about that before, of course, back in school, but I've learned how big I'm not sure how big it is really, but I've heard from more people, who are really into the direct democracy kind of um, movement today, right? People wanting it, but I mean, I'm fine with that. From what I've heard about direct democracy, is very similar to a consensus model, anyways, right? The basis here is that what we have today in America and many other places in the world, but especially in America as the one that claims itself as the country of democracy or whatever. Ooh, excuse me. What we have now is a joke, right? You tally your little vote and that's it. Like most people don't really have much of a say in it in their political system. And you hear that all the time, like, oh, we don't want to make this political, right? Like, what does that mean? Politics is supposed to be, and you can look at the definition, right? It's supposed to be just the communication of decisions, right, in a city or state or group of people, right? So if you are, I have somebody calling me. Shoot, 1 second. Sorry, y'all. I can't even pause this. I'll be right back. I'm in the stream. What's up? You can't text. Need help? What? Okay, okay. I'm here. You could have just texted. All right. Folks need to text, man. Thinking it's an emergency or something. uh, okay. Taking too long anyway on this, but yeah, the point here is that um, democracy is like, at least what we have today is not really democracy, right? It just serves to give more power to those specific people who actually have the power, who actually have any sort of say in how decisions get made, and that's really unfortunate for you know um, what we call as a system of government or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, people like to say, don't complain if you didn't vote. But voting literally does not matter much in a democracy or republic of, representative democracy, because your voice is reduced to a ballot, and usually not even a ranked choice one. So regardless of if you vote or not, your voice only somewhat matters if the politicians or subject happens to be exactly what you want, right? And this is why also a lot of the kind of media and stuff like that, like the little Overton window, right, the things that people talk about, is kind of um manipulated, right, to focus on just the things that people think they want, right? Like you hear this all the time where people like this whole pro-abortion versus, or pro-life versus pro-choice, right? Like it makes it seem like there's two sides of the argument. You just debate back and forth, but really none of that is even the actual problem, right? People are making it out to be a problem when in reality, if you make abortion illegal, like it's not gonna solve the fact that people have abortions. Like people are just gonna go have abortions in an unregulated system, and which makes the whole process worse. So what are you actually worried about? Like, are you worried about, you know, uh, people not being able to afford, abortion? Are you worried about, people having kids that they can't raise? Are you worried about, like what parts of the system are you worried about? Like mother's death, like women die in childbirth, or the child dies in childbirth. Like there's a huge amount of issues in this kind of sphere. And if you're just saying, oh, there's two sides to this, and you're either with us or against us, whatever, it not only does it simplify the problem in a very bad, like reduce it to like make it reductive, but it also ignores, right, the nuance of the issue and the context and the solutions that you can even vote for, right? Like if you want to say, okay, even if you're pro-abortion, and I am, like, let women should do their thing, but even if you're pro-abortion, you might have something to say about like how we can make abortion safer, right? How we can make sure that people, because the abortion process is very, very traumatic, right, for women, and even for the men in the family, whatever. So if you have something to say about like the father's opinion or consent or whatever in that process, that's a different matter than whether or not you're for abortion, or if you want, like I said, if you want to make the process safer, or maybe you don't, or like people claim that they don't want to take the life from the child, but as soon as the child is born, they just throw them in an adoption system where, and it's even worse, or you just throw them on the street, or now with baby formula, right? That whole thing is messed up. So these babies can't even eat after they're born. So like there's so many parts of this issue that we have to look at and figure out how we can, actually solve or make it better. But many of these arguments, right? Many of these complaints, many of these contexts to the system is not talked about because it's not, in our democracy. It's not what people are actually voting on. It's not what the people in power care about. And so that's not even going to be on the ballot. So how can you vote for something that's not even on the ballot, right? So yeah, this is why a lot of our democracy is very much a sham. So regardless, oh, I just read that part. Yeah, people claim this is a necessary trade off because you can't have a democracy with millions of people, much less a consensus model. And that is exactly the point, right? You can't have meaningful conversations with millions of people about things that matter to them, to you, to me, to each individual, right? Everybody has different things they care about at different times in their life. Thus, the importance of the next section, community. All right, so we're going to go right into it. Ban countries and borders, build intimate communities. Scale is a major flaw in democracy, right? We tried to banish this wound by having a separation of powers, or and by having federal, state, and local governing systems. But that too is the same problem, just at different levels. The simple truth of the matter, which unfortunately a lot of people refuse to completely recognize, is that nations themselves are the problems. A nation is just a giant hierarchical empire. Empire, yes, even today, this is why they call the hegemony, America and pretty much many countries in the West, right? China is included as well. All these countries are all just empires. A nation is not too different from a feudal system where you have the royalty at the top and the serfs or peasants at the bottom. All right. What do you call that today? We call it the rich people and the politicians at the top and the working class, right? Or the impoverished people, right, at the bottom. And the royalty own everything and everyone in their realm, right? What that is today, you are unpatriotic if you're not with the country, right? If you're not, voting for America, you're not voting for the for what you want. You're not a part. You're not patriotic, right? That's the same thing as like being owned in this realm, right? If you don't follow the laws and the legal system of this country, you will be put in jail. Even if you never volunteered to be a part of this country, right? You were just born here. You didn't get to choose whether or not you actually wanted to be a citizen here. You didn't get to choose whether or not you wanted to follow these laws in the first place. So you're born to a system where you have a whole bunch of laws and and stuff in place, and nobody tells you what all the laws are, stuff like that. So you can be put in jail for breaking something, breaking a law that you don't actually know about. Right. And people say, oh, there's things for first time, convicts or all this legal system. It's put in this different things put in place in legal systems so that if you break a law by accident, then they'll be lenient on you. But that's not the same thing as just having freedom. Anyways, the only difference is that in a democracy or republic, especially under capitalism, the rich and powerful own the rest through money and political power, right? They have the power to coerce what they want, to lobby or to, simply buy out much of the system, the legal system, or buy public goods and turn into private ones and things like that. Um, they have this power. Further, the key with even a place as democratic as America is that people are automatically enrolled in the fiefdom, right? Like what I just mentioned before. We like to think of automatic U.S. citizenry. This goes for any other nation in the world, though, too, as a good thing. We claim that this gives everyone the same privileges, access to the same resources and opportunities. But what we really are saying is that some people colonize a huge amount of land and resources, and now everyone born in these territories belong to this empire. You automatically must follow these rules, pay these taxes, and be grateful for the privilege. It's pretty fucking disgusting. And many just assume this to be natural or good. Even me critiquing this will be seen as un-American or communist or whatever. I'm just calling out the bullshit. You know, we have to stop caring about borders and countries, nations and patriotism. Even heritage should be more about the people than the land. Freedom means actually having viable options to make informed decisions, being able to consciously choose which rules you follow, which communities you are a part of, and what values matter to you. If you are forced to associate, that is, automatically gain citizenship with a group of people and follow a set of laws and be indoctrinated with the curriculum, then you literally do not have much freedom. All right. And then I go, this the next session is much longer. So we'll cover that next time. But yeah, man, it always just bothers me so much. And this bothered me way back when I was a child of like when you're in school. I'm not sure if they do that nowadays, but I remember in school every single morning you had to pledge the allegiance. You had to pledge the allegiance to America every single as a child. Think about this, right? This is the definition of indoctrination, right? Instead of saying, okay, here's what America stands for, here's what America is, here's our history and all this other stuff. Do you want to be a part of this country, right? No, they just say, okay, you're in this school, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America. And you'd be like this is like if you looked at this from a different perspective, like I put my hand out like this, like a Mein Kampf thing, because if you look at it, if you kind of change your perspective a little bit, you see how weird this is that you're having children pledge allegiance to your country, right? For no reason than just because they were born there. People say, "Oh, that's the good thing, right? You were born in the best country ever, right?" But have you traveled to other countries to say that for sure? Like, have you seen other ways of living? You know, how do you know this is the best way? Just because you happen to be here, and we happen to be the empire in control right now, right? What if we were the Aztecs back in the day? Or what if we were the Greeks or something? What if we were the Mesopotamians? Or if we're in China, right? Like if you had born in any of these places, right, in specific times in our history, they will be seen as the best ever. And then they disappeared from history or got destroyed or fell apart. So it's like it's really unfortunate that we seem to not, and at least in terms of empires, we seem to not learn from history. We seem to continue to indoctrinate people into this idea that these empires, these hegemonies, these oh, I'm sorry. I say I'm sorry, goodness. Ow. I hit my freaking knee. But yeah, like we are born into these places, we're indoctrinated, and then we're said to and people claim that they know what's what. If you were born in America, you don't know what's what. I'm sorry. Like our education system is not built for you to know what's what. It's built for you to be indoctrinated into our hegemony, right? So you don't really question things that much. You kind of just accept the way things are and assume that this is the best that can possibly be, even though we all know that there's a bevy of problems, but we're just kind of taught to think those are acceptable problems, or those are the what I said earlier, the acceptable losses, like the um what I say here, necessary trade-offs. Yeah, right. We're kind of taught to believe that, but it's really not. It's really not. But anyways, I'll end it there. I hope you learned something today, or had some thoughts going on in your mind. Let me know what those thoughts are. I'd love to have a conversation about this stuff. Um, have a dialectic. Let's do that. But yeah, thank you as always for watching and for listening, and have a great day. See you. Bye bye.